The afternoon of January 20th brought with it the now semi-regular sight of an arriving SpaceX Falcon 9 booster into Port Canaveral. But while the roughly 41-meter-tall first stage may have been the flashier piece of space hardware at the port, onlookers might have easily missed a more novel outbound package. On a barge next to its Shackleton landing vessel, Blue Origin spent the day loading up a special container. It was emblazoned with a mission patch with the words Blue Moon Mk.1 101 Endurance. In a post on social media, the company confirmed that this was in fact a Blue Moon Mk.1, a robotic lander which they named Endurance. Named for Ernest Shackleton's legendary ship that journeyed to the Earth's South Pole, Mk.1 honors resilience under pressure, the company wrote. That same spirit of perseverance guides our mission to the lunar South Pole. The Blue Moon Mk.1 lander stands at more than 8 meters or 26 feet in height. It's designed to take cargo down to the surface of the moon.
So the name of our landers are all Blue Moon something. So the first Blue Moon is called Blue Moon Mk.1. It's a 3,000 kilogram class lander. It's a straight to the moon on a single launch, no refueling required, and it's fully powered by LOX hydrogen. So this is a theme you're going to see through the history of Blue Origin is we have sought throughout the history of the company to develop a deep expertise with LOX hydrogen as propellants. We all know the benefits of them, but we also all know the persnicketyness of LOX hydrogen. So we have at Blue Origin worked to really mature these capabilities through our new Shepard suborbital vehicle that many of you have hopefully seen, the upper stage of our New Glenn orbital launch vehicle. And then that carries all the way through our deep space exploration capabilities.
During the 2025 Von Braun Space Exploration Symposium in Huntsville, Alabama last October, Jackie Cortez, the Senior Director of Civil Space at Blue Origin, spoke about where the Blue Moon Mk.1 was in production.
Cool thing about Blue Moon Mk.1, if you did not know, is it is in final stacking right now at our dedicated Mk.1 production plant in Port Canaveral.
Blue Origin has been dropping breadcrumbs about this first lander mission for some time. On October 14th, the company shared a look inside their Lunar Mission Control Center in Washington State. Blue Origin says there they've been running end-to-end high-fidelity simulations of a lunar mission from launch to landing to surface operations. Later that month, Blue Origin shared images of a NASA science payload being installed. It's called SCALPS, or Stereo Cameras for Lunar Plume Surface Studies. The quad cameras capture the dust kicked up by the landing burn and examine whatever crater might be formed. The goal is to help inform future lander designs to make things safer for both robotic and crewed missions. And in fact, Blue Origin teased that it would be flying SCALPS back in February 2025 with this image from one of the cameras.
The reason we approached Blue Origin to do this is they have so far the biggest robotic lander that's going to land. It's kind of a scale model of their human lander. It uses liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen as the fuel. Very different engines, right? So we're going to compare that to, for example, the same copy of that camera that we put on Firefly's lander. And Firefly has a smaller lander, uses what's called hypergolic fuels. We think it's going to have a really different effect. So we're going to have those two to compare each other, two different effects, taking images of what happens when you actually have the rocket plume interact with the moon itself.
On January 13th, 2026, the newly sworn-in NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman stopped by Blue Origin's Florida facilities to get an update on the company's landers. 2 days later, Blue Origin CEO Dave Limp shared a high-resolution photo of the lander. He says the spacecraft was just finishing up direct field acoustic testing. That's designed to simulate the vibrations expected during the lander's ascent on a New Glenn rocket. Less than a week after that, the lander got a new public name, Endurance. Once this lander Endurance is ready to set sail, it'll head out of Port Canaveral and make its way to the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. There, it'll undergo thermal vacuum chamber testing before it's barged back here to Florida's Space Coast for final pre-launch preparations. As it happened, the lander set sail from Port Canaveral around midday on January 21st. Blue Moon Mk.1 is a precursor to the Blue Moon Mk.2, which is designed to carry both cargo and humans to the moon as part of NASA's Artemis program. However, while the Blue Moon Mk.1 will certainly inform elements of Blue Origin's Human Landing System lander, that's not the end of its story. That's hinted in this mission patch design, where the lander is designated as Mk.1
We have a second Mark 1 in assembly in that same plant in Port Canaveral. So a lot of people don't know that the aft structure of the second Mark 1 is actually in structural testing right now. So 2 Mark 1s in that dedicated plant. And a lot of people ask, well, is Mark 1 just for demonstration? Like, are you just trying to prove out, BE7 and your other key components for your human landing system work? Great question. But no, we do intend for Mark 1 to be a product line. So that first Mark 1 is, intentionally not carrying 3,000 kilograms of payload because it is a demo flight, right? It is censored. So many instruments, so many sensors, PSI instrumentation with NASA, et cetera. But that vehicle itself is intended to grow into a production line, and we recently were awarded the Viper mission in partnership with NASA for that second Mark 1. So very excited about Mark 1, not just as a test bed for what we're doing on HLS, but as its future for logistics, infrastructure, and big permanence on the moon. So very excited about Mark 1, so stay tuned for the boat. Boat's a big moment.
A tentative launch date for this lander has not yet been announced. Reporting for Spaceflight Now, I'm Will Robinson Smith.